Hi guys, it is Tiny Little Whispers ASMR. Tonight I have another true crime case, and I hope you guys enjoy this one. So this evening, our case is about the disappearance of Lisanne Froon and Kris Kremers. They are also known as the missing girls of Panama. So, Lisanne Froon was 22 years old, and Kris Kremers was 21 years old, and they were both from the Netherlands. Lisanne and Kris worked together at a restaurant. Kris was working on getting a degree in cultural social education with a specialization in art history. Lisanne graduated with a degree in applied psychology. They both loved Panama, and they decided to go on a trip and volunteer as social workers so they could also work on learning their Spanish. They found a social work program that would allow them to visit Panama, and they were able to stay with a host family while they were there. The girls arrived in Boquete, Panama, the very end of March in the year 2014. The program, unfortunately, was not prepared for the girls. I'm not sure if there was just some miscommunication on both ends, or if something came up and they had to delay the program. So when the girls arrived, they were still able to stay with their host family, but the program that they were a part of would not start for another week. Since the girls had a nice break, they decided to go and explore the city and surrounding areas of Boquete, Panama. The girls decided to take a hike in the area, and they hired a guide. It's fairly common for tourists and non-locals to hire guides for their hiking excursions, since it goes through a heavily jungled area. The girls contacted the guide and they met with him, but they scheduled their hike for April 2nd. The hike they had planned to do went along a trail called El Pianista, and it took them to the Continental Great Divide. The trail was approximately 4 hours of a trip up to the Great Divide, and then 4 hours back. So in total, it was an 8-hour journey for an average person. The girls decided on April 1st, 2014, that they were going to take the hike up to the Great Divide by themselves. The next day was the day they were scheduled to leave with their guide, but they decided to go a full day ahead, and they also decided to go alone. The girls left at some point on the morning of April 1st, 2014 for their hike. The exact time they left is unknown. They ended up having the family's host dog, whose name is Blue, came along with the girls, and the dog followed them for part of the way. But at some point in the day, the family dog returned to the host family. The weather was very sunny that morning, but they were also hiking through the jungle where it easily could have rained off and on. They started off hiking on the El Pianista Trail. According to some research, the trail starts off fairly easily, and you walk through a few fields. Eventually, you end up in the jungle, where you have a fairly steep climb until you reach the Great Divide. Once you reach the Great Divide, most people turn back and come back down the mountain from the same way they went up. If you cross over the Great Divide, the trails that are on the other side are not as well kept. Also, on the other side, there are a lot of handmade rope bridges, also known as monkey bridges. And you can easily look these up online. But it is just 2 pieces of rope, one that you stand on, and then a second that you grab onto with your hands. Also, on the other side, In the thicker jungle area, there are quite a few local tribes, but these tribes are very familiar with these trails, and they do not climb out down past the divide very often. The girls packed lightly for the day, and they seemed to only pack enough to get them up to the Great Divide area, and then enough for them to return. They did not pack a lot of food or water. They both had their phones with them, along with some money and a digital camera. On April 1st, the girls never returned to their host family. I believe it was presumed that the girls stayed out late or went to a party or to explore the downtown area of Boquete. On the 2nd, this was the day they were supposed to meet with their guide. Their guide became worried because the girls did not show for their hike. He did not realize that the girls had left the day before. He went and spoke to the host family, where he found they had taken off on the trail one whole day earlier. The guide and others went to search the Il Pianista Trail, where the girls said they were going to be. The host family and others ended up reporting the girls as missing on April 2nd. The initial reaction from police was not of major concern, as they thought the girls were just being typical tourists and going out to have fun. Finally, on April 5th, the search, which had only been around the Il Pianista Trail, was expanded, and others began searching all around Boquete for Lisanne and Kris. The guides searching did not believe that the girls would have crossed over the continental Great Divide. They thought they had only climbed up to the Great Divide and then back down. When there was still no sign of the girls near or in Boquete, they decided to cross over to the other side of the Great Divide. So this other side, like I said earlier, was not very well kept, and there was a lot of overgrowth in the jungle. Searchers at the time were unable was great and it was sunny, but the following days there was a lot of rain. So the jungled areas became quite drenched and the rivers swelled up. On April 8th, the police did an aerial search of the area to see if they could find the girls alive. It was around this day that the parents of both girls flew out to Boquete to assist in the searches for their daughters. The police were still unable to find anything related to the girls, so they decided to ask the indigenous people who lived on the other side of the divide for their assistance. The police assumed that these indigenous people would be more familiar with the jungle on that side of the divide, as the guides that took tourists up very rarely crossed over the Great Divide. Nothing was ever found of the girls until several months later. A local woman from a small village on the other side of the divide found a backpack. She said the backpack was located between some plants and branches on the side of a riverbank. The woman also said that she passed by this area several times a day and had not spotted the backpack until then. The police now had a small break in the case, as the backpack belonged to Lisanne Froon. Inside the backpack were all of the girls' belongings. It contained their cell phones, the camera, the money that they had brought, and 2 bras. The police assumed that the backpack had recently washed up to this location and that it had been further up along the river before this time. The police then announced that they believed the girls to have had some type of accident while hiking. And this was strange because the bodies of the girls had yet to be found. After the backpack is found, the police decide to resume searching for the girls. They enlist once again the help of the local tribes on the far side of the continental divide. Once the searches resume, the local tribes end up finding the girls' remains being scattered all across the area. One of the local tribe members even found a boot belonging to one of the girls those of Lisanne Froon and Kris Kremers. During these searches, the local tribes also find some of the girls' clothing. One of the girls was wearing jean shorts, and they found the shorts folded, zipped, and buttoned on an outcropping near a river. While finding all of this evidence was great, unfortunately the evidence was not taken and handled properly. The local tribes of indigenous people would just hand the evidence over to police without bagging it properly, and therefore none of the evidence was able to be tested for fingerprints. The police decided to look into the cell phones of the girls to see if they could find any more information on why or how the girls disappeared. The police were able to determine when the phones were turned off and on and when they were used. On Kris Kremers' phone, they found that on April 1st at 4:39, the same day they went to the trail, she tried to call an emergency number. She called the number 112, which is technically 911 in Dutch. Apparently, the service was not great since they were in the jungle, and the calls never connected to anything. Lisanne's phone also tried to call the emergency number at 4:51. So at this point, the girls must have realized that they were in trouble. The biggest question now is, was there an accident? And if so, why did no one else manage to see them? And if not, why would they cross over the Great Divide willingly? At this point, it was still daylight, so why were the girls calling or worried about being lost? It is possible that they met with some sort of foul play. Both of their phones were then turned off and not used until the next day. On April 2nd, close to 7 in the morning, Lisanne tries to call the emergency line again. All throughout the day of April 2nd, both girls try the emergency lines several times. After this, the phones are turned off on April 3rd, and they are turned a signal before they are turned off again. Finally, on April 6th, Kris's phone is turned on. She has an iPhone, but when her phone was turned on, the correct passcode was not entered, and she was locked out of her phone. It is assumed that at this point, Kris has passed, and Lisanne is trying to use her phone. It is said that the phones are turned on and off about 88 different times. The police were also able to pull images from the girls' camera. They found a lot of selfies of the girls going up the mountain, where they both looked extremely happy and carefree. After the first, there were some more photos taken, but both girls appeared to be somber or scared. One photo even showed Kris, and it appeared that she had some blood around her temple. After this, there are quite a few photos of the trees and weird objects taken in the middle of the night. It is presumed that the girls were trying to use the flash on the camera. They were either trying to use it so they could see where they were going, or they were possibly trying to use the camera to signal to someone else. There is a few shots of a monkey bridge as well, taken at night. And there is even one presumed shot, but it is so dark that could even be a body at the bottom of a gorge. Since the shots are so dark, it is very difficult to tell what is going on in these nighttime photos. Some shots even appear to be of arrows or various materials the girls have set up, and whether this is a sign or not, the police are still unsure to this day. The families of the girls were very upset by the way the police handled the case. They said most of the evidence was mishandled, and even some of the photos were missing from the camera. And you could tell because the photos were labeled in numerical order. What was on this additional photo is unknown at this time. Apparently, the guide that the girls had agreed to meet up with on the 2nd had also had accusations of harassment placed against him. So this is really all of the information that we have about Lisanne Froon and Kremers. Some people believe that there was just some type of hiking accident. Others believe the girls got lost. And still others believe that the girls were met with foul play, whether from a guide or an indigenous person from the other side of the Great Divide. For me, personally, I believe it would have to be just some type of hiking accident combined with getting lost. The money that the girls had brought with them was found in the backpack, and that makes me believe that they were not met with foul play. If they were, I'm not sure why the money would still be there. Also, there were several photos of the girls after April 1st, where, although it wasn't both girls in the shot, it was fairly clear that one of the girls was taking the photos of the others. So it could have happened where one of them did get hurt up towards the continental divide, and they decided to go down another way to see if they could find help faster. And from there, they could have easily gotten lost, especially at night in the jungle. One could have easily fallen into the river off of a monkey bridge or anything along those lines. I've heard that it's a bit difficult to get lost when you're on the side of Boquete, but when you're on the other side of the Great Divide, it's fairly easy. And honestly, wherever you go, you need to stay on the trails when you're hiking, because if not, it can get easy to get turned around. In my opinion, like I said, I believe there was an accident, or they decided to cross over and something happened. There's so many animals in the jungle as well that they easily could have been bitten by a snake or attacked by something. And since we saw that photo of Kris with the blood on her temples, I'm sure some type of accident had happened at that point. I wish we did have more answers on this case, but it looks like we may just never know. I don't believe that foul play or the indigenous people were involved in any way. So that is all for our case this evening. This was just such a weird, interesting case to me. I hope you guys enjoyed listening, and I hope you feel nice and relaxed. If you have any case that you would like me to cover, go ahead and make a note in the comments down below, and I will definitely add that to my list even